What's up, nerds? Welcome to another edition of Potter Nerd, Wandavision Hindsight. And joining me as always, Trisha Bell.
So, y'all are gonna get sick of me eventually.
You might win this podcast because I know people are getting tired of my shit when it comes to WandaVision. Because I seem to be one of the few naysayers out there that isn't snowed from the first couple episodes.
Yeah, but I just generally think that's part of your personality and you can't help yourself.
Yeah, so like a lot of my beef is it's the sitcom aspect of it. I think, and we'll talk. We're obviously going to talk about episode 4 of WandaVision today, titled "We Interrupt This Program," directed by Matt Shankman, written by people whose names I can't pronounce, Bobak Esfarjani and Megan McDonnell. I could do the Megan McDonnell one.
I was saying you couldn't pronounce Megan McDonnell.
But the first guy, Bobak Esfarjani? Huh. Well, apparently he's the savior because he didn't write any of the first 3. So thank you, Bobak, for giving us an episode. So
one day he'll learn how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, and pay you the homage you deserve. So what did you think? What was your initial impressions of this episode?
I mean, like I said, I'm gonna just throw this out there right now, right here, right now. I told you so that it was gonna pick up around 4 and 5, and it wasn't gonna be until the very end.
You're right.
I think it was also pretty on point with Darcy too, right?
Yeah. That was a very interesting way to bring her into this.
Oh, I loved every second of it though. And then I think, like, I liked it. I think it was great. I think it was interesting that they went. The one thing I thought was super interesting about it was they went so far back as to go back into the point, but right after the snap got reversed. I was a little floored that they were like, we're gonna go guns blazing right here.
Well, that was like the way they did it. I think was way better than Spider-Man: Far From Home did it. Because, like, you actually witnessed the dust
Someone come back,
reassemble.
yeah.
And then as you're running through a hallway, people just randomly appeared.
It took me a second to realize that that's what was happening, like that it was her coming back from the snap, because I didn't think that they were just going to go right into just a whole episode about Monica. So,
I think it was interesting. So, with this episode, we definitely got a lot of backstory on Monica
yes.
Rambeau, and her mother, Maria, is... spoiler alert, if you're listening to this, you've already watched the episode, hopefully. But Maria Rambeau, who we met in Captain Marvel the movie, has passed away in between the initial snap by Thanos and then the reemergence of those who were infected by the quote-unquote blip.
The other thing I thought was interesting was that they're basically saying that Maria created Sword.
Yes. Now, I think that's huge to me, because obviously
Me
Nick
too.
Fury was involved with S.H.I.E.L.D., so he was doing his thing with S.H.I.E.L.D., and it makes sense that Maria, who was a part of that initial Captain Marvel mission, would in fact be the head of Sword. She's the only one who's experienced it. So it's kind of like how Nick Fury kind of gets thrown into the deep end. She
Yeah.
got thrown into the deep end, and
Yeah.
Nick went his way with S.H.I.E.L.D., and she went her way with Sword. So I think that was huge, that Maria Rambeau was the founder of Sword in a way.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that they were like, here's what we're doing with this one.
I did think it was interesting, too, is you walked by the plaque in the Sword Agency, which is clearly going to take the place of S.H.I.E.L.D. during this next Marvel phase. It said Photon, which was Maria Rambeau's superhero in comics. We're obviously not going to get that, at least with Maria. We may get it with Monica. I just thought it was interesting that they had her call sign in quotes.
I also think it was interesting with the fact that they're basically sending them out into space, and they're basically sending her out looking for stuff, is what they're basically saying is happening with Sword.
Oh, yeah. The other thing that's pretty, like, we get introduced to in this episode is a new character, and the acting director of Sword, Tyler Hayward.
Yeah, he was interesting. He was cool. I liked him.
I did. He has a very familiar face, and then I went to try to see what he did and realized I don't watch anything he's ever been in. But he's a new character, and I feel like there's going to be a lot more to this Tyler guy going forward.
I agree, but I can't get a feel for whether or not it's gonna be good or bad.
The crazy thing, at least for us watching this from the perspective of everything we already know up in the MCU. I didn't expect them to have a director of Sword,
Hmm.
mainly because I assumed Fury was doing it, since Fury was last seen with the Skrulls in space.
Yeah, but now that they're saying that Sword was created by Maria, it's a whole other ball game.
Yeah, so it's like, did Maria go and get Nick at some point and say, hey? Well, no, Nick was a part of the snap, so Maria
Exactly.
would have been dead. Huh. So there's a lot of mystery there. I just talked myself into like a,
Well,
that's a plot hole.
the other thing is isn't Spider-Man about 5 years after the blip?
It's 5 years after the snap, but it's like a few months after the actual end game.
Okay, because this is only 3 weeks after.
Yeah. And Fury's already in space by the end
You
of
should be, yeah.
Peter's summer program. So it's somewhere between Fury attending the Tony Stark funeral and Spider-Man Far From Home. He's already in space working with Skrulls, which you assume he's
Yeah.
also working with Sword.
What maybe, possibly. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. That's just an assumption I had because someone who was involved with Shield, you think would be involved with this, but it looks like Sword's acting on their own. Except in this episode, they send Monica to Westville, New Jersey, or Westview, New Jersey. I say
Westview.
Westville because
Westville's actually 5 minutes away from
yeah,
us. Westview is probably not real.
that's true. Every time
I,
I've explained this episode to people, I've called it Westville.
well, it blows my mind that it's New Jersey. Like, I mean, nobody ever does anything in New Jersey. We're from New Jersey and we don't ever do anything with New
Well,
Jersey.
when you first messaged me when they had the teaser out during the week, I assumed
Yeah.
that it was because Captain America trained in New Jersey in the 40s when it came to the camp because they didn't have camps in Brooklyn.
And then in something I remember seeing New Jersey in the big letters in one of the in one of the Avengers. I remember it says New Jersey, so I know they go back there at some point. Why they pick New Jersey, I have no idea. This place sucks.
Well, they have my thought is you're either going to get upstate New York or New Jersey because the city is. Ah, just think of Godzilla and Kong and all these monster movies, even DC. They just level these cities. So at least what Marvel seems to try to do is move these guys to like plains and outside. Like when Thanos came to the future, he was in upstate New York. So it's not like he wiped out New York City. They only did it once, and I feel like they realized they had such like a problem by having the T'Chari attack New York City. It's like, well, we can't keep blowing up cities because it's going to cause a bigger problem in the entire MCU. But New Jersey has been significant to at least the Captain America storyline. He trained
Yeah, I
there.
think
He trained there, and he went back in Winter Soldier to find out about Hydra's infiltration of Shield.
it's. Yeah, it just made me laugh. Just as someone from being from New Jersey, usually nothing's ever set in New Jersey, and if it is, it's never good. It's usually just a cesspool. So
Yeah, and I want to point out it's usually North Jersey too, because South Jersey is
yeah,
way better than North Jersey, and North Jersey can suck a dick.
well, North
So
Jersey is a cesspool.
yes, and that's usually where they're at. I'm going to assume Westview's up there. Unless
Well,
Westview turns out to be a nice town, then it's in South Jersey.
I don't know, because like it looks like it could be in that weird piney area.
Yeah, they're probably down our way, or a little
We're
bit
gonna hope
further
so.
south. But they end up in Westview, and Monica teams up with
Well,
Jimmy Woo, who we first met in Ant-Man and Wasp. So I'm glad to see that character back. I enjoyed him. It was pointed out to me from Jared. He does the damn card trick that Paul Rudd does in
yeah,
Ant-Man and Wasp, which I did not pick up on at first.
yeah, he does it with Monica.
Yeah, and he's like, it's a humble brag the way he does it too. He's like, oh, I'm Agent Woo, and he just flips out the card. It's like, yeah, he's clearly been working on that for 5 years.
Yeah, I laughed. I laughed at it when I was watching it because I remember the card trick. I remember the card tricks in Ant-Man and Wasp, or Ant-Man, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Paul Rudd.
but like, out of all these episodes, so this was initially pitched to us as a sitcom, and this was the first episode where I kept laughing, and it
Oh yeah,
bothers
because of him
me.
and Darcy.
Oh yeah, you had Jimmy Woo, you
Well,
had the Darcy character. It's
well, I
just
mean, I've laughed at other stuff, but I have also enjoyed the old school time feel to it. Like I like that. You didn't, so that's
I
probably
didn't.
why.
I didn't. And when we get towards the end of this episode of us talking, I'll explain to you why I didn't care for these 4 episodes.
You explained it already.
Oh, you know, but they don't know. So I
I'm sure
preemptively
they
warned
do if
you.
they listened to the first
Or
three.
yeah, or if they're friends with me on Facebook and saw me go after people I don't even know who didn't think I read comic books. Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
Oh God, I will defend you on that one because I say all the time, I've never read the comics, but I know if I need information on the comics, you're probably the first person I go to.
Yeah, and I'm not even like I'm okay with them not doing the comics, but like the, the first 3 episodes jerked off sitcoms way too much.
Yeah, but I get it, and I think, and I'm gonna toot my own horn here. I think I was right with the whole. I think she was using the sitcoms as the way to live the American dream, especially at the end of this episode.
Well, I'll completely admit I didn't expect her to be. So the final line of this episode is it's all Wanda, and that's said by Monica when she gets found because they eventually this episode runs concurrent with 1, 2, and 3
Yeah.
of what's happening on the outside world as what's happening in the sitcom, and they even point out like, oh, it's a sitcom. It's using the old time airwaves, and that's how we picked it up and found out it was actually happening. I
Now
just
here's my question:
go ahead.
do you think other people have seen it happening?
No. And I'm going to blame Amazon and Apple and Roku for that. Just because they're on different. Like, who's going to pick that up except for some old guy who's going to look at the TV and go, the hell is this shit? Like, I don't think you're going to get anybody who's going to realize that it's an
But
Avenger.
I don't agree that it's all Wanda. I think they're definitely going to play the whole she's going crazy thing, but I still
Well, to your
think
point, that,
something else is behind this.
yeah, you pointed out in a couple other episodes we've talked about, Agnes. When they were doing the whole profiling of the entire town, Agnes
She's
was
still
not
not
on
up
there.
there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it
Neither
makes
was
you
Dottie.
feel, yeah. So it really makes you feel like, at least for Agnes, that she's a centerpiece, especially since she was a deterrent in episode 3 from telling Vision.
Well, they were able to place everyone but her and Dottie, and everyone else in the show is an actual resident of Westview.
Mm-hmm. And at least the Agnes character has had way more interaction with Wanda than anyone else, and in a way of like, and part of what annoys me about the character is playing up the sitcom. And pushing her further and further into a sitcom plot
Which
when
is
it
why I
comes to
don't
it.
think this is all Wanda's fault.
Yeah, and I think she understands what she's doing is wrong, but also she's not against having Vision back in her life.
Yeah, I think originally she was I think maybe originally it wasn't necessarily going to be this full-blown thing that happened. I think maybe she just wanted to have her life with Vision
Mm-hmm.
and there was going to be something, but I think someone manipulated her.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and you could tell because like it didn't take much to push her over the edge, but now that she's over, there's definitely forces keeping her off the edge and
Yeah.
just away from coming back to reality.
A lot of people are theorizing though that Agnes's husband, Ralph,
Mm-hmm.
that he is the witness protection person they're looking for.
Well, like a big thing that I've been seeing on the internet, and I bet you Ralph is probably the witness protection guy, but there's also like a lot of speculation that Mephisto is the big baddie of this episode,
Correct.
or at least
Some
this
people,
season.
I've heard either the theory that Ralph is Mephisto. I've
Mm-hmm.
heard the theory that Dottie is Mephisto.
That'd be interesting because
Because the only reason my friend was saying they think Dottie is Mephisto is because they say Dottie's the one that you have to get in good with. Dottie's the one in control of everything.
I just it's weird because I feel like Dottie was really only focused on the second episode. She wasn't in the first one, and then she had like maybe a 1 minute
Yeah, but
bit.
Agnes was the one saying that Dottie's in control of everything. If you want to get in good, you have to get in with Dottie.
It's true, unless Agnes is the manipulator and just playing
Or
out
she's
maybe like
manipulating on behalf of Mephisto and on behalf of Dottie.
yeah. There's definitely something fishy about the Agnes character. Like I'm not too sold
Oh,
on Dottie yet, but I know Agnes is definitely she's clearly a big player. And not to mention that it's Catherine Hahn playing the character, so you think that she's getting a decent role.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's
but
interesting.
speaking of other characters in this episode, Darcy returned. She's a
No, my
doctor,
love,
no longer an
my love.
intern. She first is in a van where they're not supposed to talk, and of course that Darcy humor comes out right away.
Oh,
uh,
I was
by
so happy.
shitting
Oh
on
my
the
God.
chemical engineers,
I was so excited.
and then immediately shitting on the sword agent that was there to greet her. So Darcy was being Darcy, and I feel like there's an extent that if there's too much of her, it could get annoying. But I think it was the perfect amount of Darcy
No,
for this
especially
episode.
her and Cho bouncing off of each other. It
Oh,
was beautiful.
the scene with the chips when he goes, "Oh, do you want one?" And he starts talking about the baby, and he goes, "Oh no, no, chip. Yeah, I'll take a chip." It's that scene killed me because I've had
I
conversations where like I get tied up in something else, and that's not what people were talking about.
I loved those two going together. And then I saw a meme and it was, remember how in I think it was in Avengers where T'Challa's like, someone get this man a shield.
Hmm.
So the first two boxes were that, the next two boxes were someone get this woman a coffee.
I did like that too because that was a running theme in the episode of she just never got her fucking coffee because it was the first thing she asked for when she couldn't get classified documents.
Well, because nobody believed her.
Yeah,
And
I
in reality, she's been the one figuring everything out because she's Darcy and I love her.
yeah, she really did just by watching TV too. She didn't tell anyone. She just turned it on and started watching, and they
Well,
happened to overhear it.
so it's clear to me now that she was the person at the beginning of the first episode.
Oh yeah, no, especially the way they pulled out the camera, you could tell that was the clip they
Well,
used.
there was the notebook too.
Mm-hmm.
The notebook was sitting on the desk.
Because I thought that was interesting because at least the bits and pieces of episode 4 that were placed into the 1, 2, and 3, I don't think they were reshot. I think they literally took it out of episode 4 and placed it in those first 3
I
episodes.
don't doubt it. And then there was the thing where like every time someone enters the Westview, like they kind of go back in time a little bit, how the guy's hazmat suit turned into the beekeeper, how
The cord was the jump rope that
jump rope,
detached from him.
and then how the drone we think turned into um
The,
the airplane.
yeah. So this is where I'm going to bitch a little bit. I was going to wait till the end. So I know that this episode clearly ties in at all the questions we may have had 1 through 3, and that's all this episode was meant to do, was to tie the loose ends. The helicopter, which was the drone that Monica initially sent in, the beekeeper who just happened to be a sword agent wearing a weird outfit, uh, crawling through the sewer system. We don't know what happened to him though. She just said no, and that was still the end of it. Like I assume he got punted like Monica did at the end of episode 3. We get the actual interaction between Monica and Wanda from episode 3 that's kind of clipped out because every time something seems to break the reality that Wanda has created, it skips. And it's nice to know that the skip, there is stuff that happens in between.
What I also thought was interesting was the fact that she usually her magic is usually not anything, and then when she was going after Monica, it became her red like aether reality stone looking stuff like it normally does.
She took the same pose she took against Vision in Captain America Civil War, right as Hawkeye was coming to quote unquote rescue her,
Hmm.
and she pushed Vision through the fucking structure.
Yeah,
She positioned herself the same way.
but I thought it was interesting that usually before it's kind of just like her snapping her fingers and like it's very kid like it's very like normal like how a witch would be, whereas with this you see her powers like you would as her powers.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting how they played with the aspect ratios. So for the brief moment
Yes.
they transitioned back into the WandaVision sitcom, it went back to that 70s format. And then as it was coming into like this isn't part of the sitcom, it went right back into the MCU normal
Hmm.
format. And then she yeeted fucking Monica out of the world.
Well, I think the other thing is the other big bomb they fucking dropped on everybody too was Vision.
Yeah, so that creeped me out. I know
That
it
creeped me
was
out
cool,
wildly.
but it was super creepy and like you can see, and I'll hat tip credit Jared on this one because he said this verbatim. You can see how Doctor Strange 2 is going to be a bit horror just by that scene
Oh
alone.
yeah.
Because
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
at this point, did she carry this fucking carcass to Westville or Westview? God damn, I'm going to keep calling it Westville. But did she
At
carry
no
the carcass there?
my guess is there's a small chance she's manipulating the body,
Mm-hmm.
which is wild to me, which it makes me even more pissed off that they cut her after credit scene.
Yeah. Well, that and that MCU allows necrophilia because she's clearly trying to bang a dead guy.
Now you're just sounding like Gibby.
But it's true. This is
She's not.
so okay. Gibby brings in necrophilia just to bring it in. This is literally happening. You see him with his skull crushed in, and it's like he's dead. She knows he's dead. She's still manipulating reality to make him
But
alive, though.
I'm gonna point out this other thing though. In the very last episode, me and you just said we don't see any House of M vibes, and then this just went, "Fuck you guys, here they are."
Yeah, they were a little bit harder here. Nothing to the mass extinction of like a mutants or Inhumans. That'd be funny as hell if like the last episode she just goes, "No more Inhumans," and that just gets rid of everything that happened, so they don't have to admit that mistake. But it's the thing that makes me very interested because as soon as this dropped, they ended up releasing like a what's ahead in WandaVision. Now that we've experienced the real world with
You
Wanda's
see
world,
her actually dress as herself as Scarlet Witch.
yeah. You also see Vision trying to walk through that force field. So what the
Yes.
hell's going to happen to him if he gets through?
Yeah, that's my other question is if he's actually this walking carcass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that just a flash? Like, there's two things that this could just be a bad memory where Wanda was just, just had a flash of Vision dead,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if he is actually just a walking carcass she's manipulating, how is he becoming self-aware from what she's doing?
I like to think it's some random Jamaican music in the background, and we got a Weekends at Bernie's 2 scenario going on. That
Yeah,
she's just continuously playing music, and Vision's walking around like Bernie.
yeah, but it doesn't make any sense because how is he becoming self-aware if he's dead?
Because he's still an AI, so maybe she made him too realistic.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think she might have just had like a bad flashback of like him dying. I don't know. This definitely just it closed a couple cans and then opened five more. Like,
Yeah, well, especially now that it looks like they're going to do a little bit of the sitcom peppering in versus majority sitcom, a
well,
little
you
bit of
see the
plot.
80s, you see the 80s, you see the 90s probably.
Yeah, and I made a comment to you that it looked like in that trailer too for the back
She was
half of
doing
the
like a
season,
testimonial. Yeah.
it was a Modern Family vibe right there, and the joke of I guess that's Mondays, like, that feels like a Modern Family joke, and I'm really mad at myself that I didn't think, well, that's a Disney property, so why wouldn't they use that for a sitcom? That'll be the modern sitcom that they use for like the 2010s because that dominated the airs for 11 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would do for the 90s. I still assume Seinfeld or Friends.
Or like
80s.
or like the family, like stuff like Seventh Heaven or like
Well, now it's to the point where, like, yeah, you have to go back and see what the hell was a Disney property. Because I really feel I didn't do any research on the ones that they used for the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But if they're Disney properties, that makes much more sense now.
yeah, but I think they're so old that they fall under that like what's it where it's been out
Free
for so
usage.
long? Yeah, like free property or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever it's called.
But like as you push the 80s and like the 90s, you're probably like Warner Brothers isn't going to be too thrilled if they do Friends because that's their
Yeah, but those
property.
aren't. But you have to think you're gonna. So far, she's been doing sitcoms that are like the perfect family. So she's not gonna do Friends. She's not gonna do
Mm.
Seinfeld. She's gonna do something that's family oriented.
Can you think of a family-oriented show from the 90s? I just assume that's why we're all fucked up.
Full House.
That was like late. Okay, I mean, I guess so because that was early 90s. That was late 80s, early 90s. Maybe like Family Matters was 90s. Boy Meets World. Maybe they'll go with
What
that.
was that? What was that other one where they had like 12 kids?
Step by Step.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that was all part of the TGIF Friday lineup that they would do. You
yep.
know what? They probably would go with Boy Meets World because they own that. It's on the Disney Plus network.
We're not gonna talk about Boy Meets World because they still robbed us of Girl Meets World.
That's true. She's on Snowpiercer now, which
The
is cool.
girl?
Oh yeah, Rowan Blanchard. She's on Snowpiercer season 2.
Oh, I'll have to watch it. I liked her.
Yeah, well, she's not in season 1. So, okay, well, we're digressing. But when it comes to this program, I'm really upset at the fact that over the course of 4 episodes, which is half the season, little less than half the season, they spent the majority of the first 3 paying homage to sitcoms. Because there was a lot of stuff we talked about for the first 3 episodes that didn't pay any dividends.
I'm telling you though, I like the way they did it. I think they did exactly what they needed to do. They created just such an air of mystery and just wanted to keep you coming back for more. I know it pissed you off, but that's because you're impatient and cranky.
Well, I think they could have did it in 1 episode. I don't think they
I
needed
don't.
3 to do it.
No, I
Because
don't. I
the first
disagree.
episode is irrelevant.
Now here's the thing. If these were hour-long episodes, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
But because we're only getting about 25 to 30 minutes of footage here, I'm disagreeing with you
I,
because I think those commercials are a big part of it and we're not realizing it.
but you're also only getting 9 episodes.
You're right,
You got
but
almost an hour worth of content a week, between like 40 and an hour for Mandalorian across 8 episodes. You're getting only about 20 to 30 a week on this. And the first episode, nothing was connected to this 4th episode.
but no, but that's I don't know. But I think that's the point. I think that they knew that, we're getting to a point where they have to start explaining things and that's where they're going to lose people. So they did. They did exactly. I think you're going to disagree with me still, but I think what they did is great. I think the way they're doing it is great. And I think it's exactly what they wanted it to be. And I like it. And it's different and it's good.
I personally think they knew that they messed up with this, because that's why we got the first 2 episodes on the first day. They
Yeah,
knew
but
that
not, but
episode
I just
1 was going to be
no, because
irrelevant.
no, because they did the same thing with The Mandalorian, where they gave us 2 episodes in a day
The first
for the
season,
first
not the
season.
second one.
Okay, we don't
And that
know
was
if there's going to
also
be the
that
second
was also
season.
Disney Plus launch day. So that was them trying to
But
get you to
I
subscribe.
think no, yeah, yes and no. I think with any new show, especially the important ones, they're probably going to give you 2 episodes in a day.
I think they messed up and they couldn't bank
I
on
don't.
episode 1
No.
keeping people. So they gave you 2.
Well,
And
we don't know because right now we're not sure if this is going to be more than one, if this is just going to be a one-time thing, because we don't know where this is ending and we don't know how it's leading into Doctor Strange.
well, I did think it was interesting that, like, when they approach certain things, they either call it seasons or limited series. They keep referring to this as seasons, and I have heard them refer to Falcon and Winter Soldier a couple times as a limited series. So it makes me think that
I
this will
thought
be back.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is limited
That's what I've heard. I know
because
Loki's
I
considered
knew
seasons, and this was considered
Hawkeye is
seasons.
definitely limited.
Yeah, so like they use terminology with certain runs, and they have not used the limited series with this one.
Well, that was my point, was I didn't know if they've called it that or not.
And people keep saying it's the season 1 finale, which kind of implies that there's going to be a season 2.
Which just shows you that this is maybe their first of all, they're finally giving Wanda the credit she deserves, so we're gonna put that out there. Um, maybe they're finally really like because like I don't know because like the other thing that they pointed out was I heard rumors the other day that they are bringing back the Punisher, but with John Bernthal.
I'm hoping they all appear in Spider-Man, but that's probably a long shot considering they're really overloading that roster.
Yeah, but the one of the best things about Marvel, and probably the worst at the same time, is that you could hear 80 different rumors,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them could be true, none of them could be true, or because they can keep things so secret the way that they do sometimes, it's like it
They'll
just
go out
fucks
of
you
their
up.
way to create a trailer that's not even relevant to the movie.
Well, to be
Avengers
fair,
Infinity
they
War.
to be
They
fair, they have Tom Holland.
well, yeah, they have to. But I mean, Avengers Infinity War, where they had everybody running at the end of the trailer, and we didn't even get the Hulk in fucking Infinity War. But he was
Uh,
there, like, front and center as they were doing the run towards Thanos in the trailer. So Marvel is good at throwing things to distract you and then
and
giving you
that's my
something
point.
different.
So who knows where this is going to lead? Who knows who we're going to see? Who knows what they're going to do? And the problem is because no one has a general idea. Like, and I think I said it with the first one, right? No one has any idea where they're taking this. They have no idea who the villain is, who the baddie is. Like I said, I think they messed up a little bit when they pulled Thanos out as early as they did with the first phase. Everybody
Hmm.
knew it was leading up to Thanos,
Yeah.
right?
And they set a precedent. Because now you're just always assuming everything's working to a greater good. When in actuality, maybe it's not. Maybe this is just a one-off. It's something weird when it comes to that type of
I
stuff.
don't think if this was just a one-off, I don't think they would have stated so blatantly that this leads into Doctor Strange.
Well, that's the other thing that makes me nervous. Like, I know that Marvel is really good at, like, putting out a blueprint and getting from point A to point Z. But if you have this interacts with Doctor Strange and assuming Spider-Man as well, because Doctor Strange is in Spider-Man, they said Loki's involved in that. Like, that's a lot of moving pieces to say, hey, we're definitely going to get a season 2 out of this. Because that means there's going to be something left open from this season that has to
Which
be
is going to be
resolved into
annoying.
season 2. Yeah.
Or
And when do we get season 2? Do we get it after everything comes out? Or are we going to get it
that's
before?
well, it depends. That's not necessarily true because if that's the case, then season two might be more of something that okay, we got through Spider-Man, we got through Doctor Strange, we got through this season two of WandaVision. Like you
Which
don't know how
could
far out it
happen.
could be.
Because in theory, assuming this pandemic doesn't stop the Disney release schedule, Doctor Strange is the last of all this stuff tying up and is next March 2022. In theory, you could have a WandaVision season 2 by April of next year. And that's not uncharacteristic of a year. Like, there's a year between TV shows, so it makes sense. But I really think this pandemic is really going to... It could mess with things, especially if Disney doesn't move to a HBO Max style of releasing on their streaming service and the box office. Because America's screwed. America's not getting their shit together. I don't know if we'll be able to see movies anytime this year.
I mean, movie theaters are open, just nothing good's coming out.
Yeah, well, like Disney doesn't want to pull the trigger until they can have full attendance because they don't want their box office to hurt.
Because they're greedy little bastards, and I just want to see Black Widow.
Yeah, and it sucks because like if that gets pushed again, Doctor Strange now gets pushed to like the summer of 2022. So that means we probably won't get a WandaVision season 2 at the earliest till September.
Don't they realize nerds are impatient?
I think this podcast we've been doing has proven that very well. Because I firmly believe you could have tied all 4 episodes into a 45-minute episode.
To Disney, maybe they'll understand.
Because it just drives me nuts. Because I really think when we get to episode 9 of this and we're wrapping things up, we won't mention a damn thing from episode 1.
I don't agree with that.
You think there's something important in episode 1? Because even episode 4, the only thing they showed was the credits at the end of episode 1 and said, "Oh, it's a sitcom." And I went, "Oh, that's fantastic."
But I think it episode 1 pulled in that little air of, okay, hey, there might be something else going on here. There's something dark and sinister. Like it's not the campy sitcom that we thought it was going to be.
Well, but I think everybody knew that because looking at the trailers, at least, you knew that this wasn't the normal. You just got 10 years of MCU content that wasn't in black and white or sitcom style, so something's clearly up, and she's the person who can manipulate reality.
I know, but we're never going to agree on the fact that I think that they did this in the right way.
You're right. You were absolutely right. I think overall it's going to be a good project. I think I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it by the end. I will never agree.
Wait, whoa.
Oh, I'll never agree that 1 through 4's strategy was well laid out. Because 1, 2, and 3 could have been.
If things didn't speed up, you weren't even going to finish.
It's true. If episode 4 was the 80s and they did what they did for episode 3, I wouldn't have come back. I would have waited till March to finish it.
More people just need to listen to me because, like I said, 4 and 5 were where we were going to pick up. And what happened?
Don't get me wrong. If episode 5 is the fucking 80s and they just ignore everything we learned in episode 4, I'm going to lose my shit.
I don't think they're going to ignore it. I think it's going to be... I hope it's going to be a back and forth thing. I don't know for sure. I do think that, we're going to go back into the sitcom thing because they're going to be watching it. But I think now you're going to see a side by side and a timeline of, because now we're caught up, right? So everything's caught up. They're at the same time.
That's my beef with those first 3. I wanted a 50-50 relationship. Instead, you got a 90-10. You got 90% sitcom and 10% MCU.
I like that they did that.
I don't. I think they wasted 3 episodes they wasted a third of the season with sitcom bullshit. When you only give a small package. So either the message that they're trying to convey isn't worth a 9-episode season, and this is just them dragging it out, or they're going to rush everything in the last couple episodes and really piss me off more because it's like you had 9 episodes to do this story. And you waited till episode 9 to like, oh, this is what's been going on, and like, oh, there's 100 other things that are going to have to take place, but go catch it in movie theaters when you see Spider-Man 3. And then I'm going to throw my shoe at the goddamn screen.
Well, we've got about another month to figure it out, so.
It's true. And I am looking forward to episode 5. I have a feeling they're going to piss me off in episode 5. I think it's going to be a roller coaster from here on out. Of just like, oh, I really enjoyed that, but I really didn't like it. Because like I came in softer to episode 4 based on how episode 3 ended. And then I was really...
Because I showed you the trailer.
Yeah, and then I was really amped at the end of episode 4. It's like, great, we're finally getting answers. We're actually getting story about what else took place in the MCU. Like, I always love that they dive deeper into the blip. And what happened when people came back, and what happened to people, like, in between it. Like, that really fucking sucked for Monica that her mom died 3 years after the snap. And it was because the cancer came back. And Monica had no idea the cancer was even gone to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, that's some... Let's explore that instead of, like, Wanda wishing she was in I Dream of Jeannie. Ugh. Anyway. I've ranted and raved a lot. Final thoughts on episode 4. We interrupt this program.
I mean, I loved it. I've loved it so far. You're the one that hasn't, so...
Again, I'm going to love the overall picture, but at that point, why weren't you just a movie? I actually would have preferred a movie because it would have gotten rid of most of the sitcom bullshit.
I think they're trying something different and you just don't like change.
I do like change. I don't like people being really artsy-fartsy about stuff and ruining the actual content. That's my problem. Like, these are people... Like, I bet you if I went and Googled these people that wrote the first 3 episodes, they're probably huge fucking sitcom enthusiasts that have, like, I Love Lucy on Blu-ray, because that has a point. Why you want Blu-ray of something that was shot in the 60s? And then they just shove that down your throat. And again, that's cool for 1 episode. But 3 out of a 9-episode season, get the hell out of here. You're wasting my time. But yeah, WandaVision. All right, let's do our little plugs. What do you got going on?
I mean, just keep listening to us. I'm sure we'll be popping out Harry Potter year 2. Wow. I think I just had a stroke. We also have the Game-a-thon coming up where we'll do some crazy shit, so as we usually do.
Yeah, because we're doing a double, so that's going to be fun.
So if you think I haven't killed people in previous years...
We'll have a schedule to do it this time.
Yeah. I think 1 year I threw a show. I did.
Yeah.
Frank, too.
He earned it, because if I remember correctly, he was making a lot of annoying noises in the background.
Well, I think it was you were playing Sonic, and it was just ding, 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 and then Frank started narrating something, and then I was just like, shut the fuck up, and I threw a shoe.
Oh, that's the year that me and him collectively pissed off the entire basement, because I just kept banging into the damn bouncer. So yeah, the Game-a-thon, March 26th to the 28th, it's going to be fun.
Someone's going to end up in jail, and someone's going to end up dead.
Yeah, for sure, because we're all going to be fucking deprived of sleep and lunatics. Make sure you go to the Basement Protocol or basementprotocolproductions.com for everything. Realistically, you could get our podcasts, our YouTube channel, our Facebook. Everything is on basementprotocolproductions.com. But as for Potter Nerd related, like she said, we're going to be talking about Harry Potter 2, Year 2 coming up soon. We're going to probably, I know there's going to be a couple other hosts that are going to take it over to talk about some video games like The Last of Us and things that I can't express interest in and would be painful if I hosted it. We'll continue to do WandaVision for each episode, for better or worse. There's going to be another Potter Nerd kind of special where we're going to be doing Snowpiercer after each episode. And then in March, we'll probably flip roles, me and Trish will hate Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I'll love it. Be like, this is a guy's thing, yeah! Explosions! Anyway, that's all I got. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you keep watching. I hope I don't deter you, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it does suck. And I still don't have an outro. So I've been Chris the Dace Man Dace. She's been Trish.
Bye.
Bye. There you go. And we'll see you next time, nerds.